I'd like to call the council to order. Council Member Larson, would you lead us in the pledge?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to item number 3, roll call. Erica, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Here.
Councilmember Larson,
Here.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Here.
Mayor Austin,
Here.
all present.
Okay, I'd like to move to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second Edmonds.
I have a motion. I have a second. Erica, will you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Yes.
Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 5A, proclamation for Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurodegenerative brain disorder, tragically robs individuals of their memories and leads to progressive mental and physical impairments, and whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, the 2nd leading cause of death in California, and the 3rd leading cause of death in Ventura County, and is the only cause of death in the top 10 that has no cure, no treatment, no way to slow its progression. And whereas more than 5.8 million people in the United States are living with Alzheimer's, including 670,000 in California and 14,000 in Ventura County. And whereas there are 1.6 million dedicated caregivers who provide unpaid care at home in our state of California, valued at over $23 billion. And whereas according to the National Institute of Aging, Alzheimer's disease also indirectly costs business up to $37 billion a year in the United States in lost productivity from employees who miss work or leave their jobs to provide care for a relative or loved one. And whereas with early detection and diagnosis, individuals and their families can gain access to treatment, medications, enroll in critical research trials, finally, are fully participating in planning for the future and receive help and support from the Alzheimer's Association. And whereas Alzheimer's and dementia are disproportionately impacting Latino communities, in particular Latino women, let it be known that there is critical need to focusing on providing educational programs and resources to this underserved and underrepresented population. And whereas there is a need to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and to honor all caregivers who support and care for loved ones with Alzheimer's disease. Now, therefore, I, Mark Austin, on behalf of the Fillmore City Council in the great state of California, do hereby proclaim June 20th, 21 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month throughout the city, and to commend this observation to our citizens in joining honoring all families affected by Alzheimer's disease. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 5B. It's a proclamation honoring and recognizing the month of June as LGBTQIA Pride Month. I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas on June 28, 1969, the LGBTQIA community took a brave and stand for human rights at the Stonewall Inn in New York City, marking a monumental step for LGBTQIA and equal rights. And whereas each June, cities and towns throughout the United States celebrate LGBTQIA Pride Month to acknowledge the bravery it takes for LGBTQ people, TIA people to come out as themselves and build community and promote equal rights for all. And whereas a tremendous amount of progress has been made since Stonewall, members of the LGBTQIA community still face discrimination simply for being who they are, and whereas Pride Month offers the community an opportunity to reflect upon the discrimination and inequality that has troubled LGBTQIA people, while celebrating and embracing the work of individuals and organizations who have continuously fought to create equality for all. Now therefore, I, Mark Austin, Mayor of City of Fillmore, hereby proclaim June as LGBTQIA Pride Month for the City of Fillmore. In witness whereof, I hereon set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Fillmore, California to be fixed this 8th day of June 2021.
Mayor, we have public comments.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Ana Rosa Rizzo Centino. You've been unmuted.
Thank you so much. Fillmore City Council, we are very appreciative and thankful of you all agreeing to proclaim June as Pride Month. And at the same time, we wish this had happened so much sooner. Our youth that are LGBTQIA plus identified do not face a welcoming environment on an everyday basis, which is why they come to the One Step a la Vez Center. And we really need to work together to make sure that we create a more welcoming and loving environment, not only in Fillmore, but throughout the Santa Clara River Valley, to make sure that youth who are represented by, who identify as LGBTQIA really feel like they are welcome, like they are loved, like they are accepted in this community. We all give so much to our community, and I want to make sure that people get that love and appreciation back. And that's what we're here for. So let's continue to work together to make this community that welcoming environment that we aspire to be.
Thank you. The next, there's two other public comments. Sandra and Sean, I am unmuting you, and we're starting your 3-minute mark. Sandra can go first, and then Sean can go after.
Thank you very much, Fillmore City Council. It's good to see you, council members. Unfortunately, we cannot do this in person, but I do appreciate the time and I do appreciate the ability to make public comment. At this meeting, I represent the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, as I am the Central Coast representative for 7 counties, including Ventura County. I also sit as a member of the Consumer Advisory Committee at Children's Hospital Los Angeles University Center of Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And I do really want to thank you for both of these proclamations. Both of these issues really do impact the community of individuals with developmental disabilities, both young individuals and older individuals, our youth as they are learning about themselves and developing. And we do see trends in which there are individuals with developmental disabilities who are exploring themselves, their identity, their sexuality, and really do need a safe space to do that. And having cities that step up to provide that is incredibly important for that particular community of individuals who really have a dearth of resources that the general education students and those that are fully included in the community tend to receive more often. Our individuals with brain injury and Down syndrome tend to really experience much more issues related to memory, and our individuals with Down syndrome tend to experience higher rates of Alzheimer's. And so I really do appreciate your acknowledgement of that and your willingness to support agencies that are doing the good work and on the ground addressing these issues for both of these communities. Thank you so much for being allies and supporters of both these issues.
Hi, my name is Sean Enlow, and I too want to thank you for both of these proclamations. I'm a physician, and in my professional capacity, I have assisted in research in the area of Alzheimer's, and I've seen the progress that has been made and is continuing to be made, and just medically how this disease, it's still impacting us on a personal note, I've known people who've been affected by Alzheimer's, and I've seen how it robs people and the families of those that we love. And so I really want to commend you for recognizing this in that capacity. As another hat that I wear is as a trans woman. And so with LGBTQI plus identities, I've seen in my own lifetime how awareness and both just acceptance and welcoming, and how that has made a world of difference to people, both young and old. And I just want to, again, give my thanks to you for recognizing these two important, your proclamations mean a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were the public comments we had for this particular item. We do, however, have additional for the upcoming ones.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 6, public comments. Do we have any public comments, Erica?
We do. We're going to start with Brisa Romero. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And again, I would like to thank the community and the City Council for declaring June as Pride Month. It has been a long time coming. As a resident of Fillmore, I am extremely proud that I am able to help with this cause, to bring it attention to you all. And I also wanted to use this time to share that because of the proclamation, we decided that this would be a perfect opportunity to host a Pride Resource Fair. This resource fair will be on June 27th from 4 to 7:30 p.m. It will be located in front of City Hall at 250 Central Avenue. And it is going to be a time of gathering with love, unity, with pride in mind. This is a great accomplishment we have gained today. So we want to invite community members, youth, students, mothers, fathers, family members to come and join us and get educated on LGBTQ issues. We will have multiple tables, multiple organizations tabling for us. With information in both English and Spanish, as well as bilingual Spanish interpreters. So this is a really great opportunity if you are wanting to learn more about what kind of resources are available, and everyone is welcome with open arms. And thank you for letting me speak and share that today.
Next participant is going to be Patricia Zavala.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to thank you all so much for tonight's proclamation declaring June as Pride Month. And thank you to the community and One Step a la Vez. I'm really proud that Fillmore is doing this, and it truly means a lot. And I hope that this is a first step in creating a more inclusive and loving environment for our LGBTQIA community here in Fillmore. And I just want to say thank you, and I hope that you all make it out to the resource fair on the 27th, and as well the conversations with the Coalition for Family Harmony, the workshops. Thank you so much for doing that as well, and thank you to City Manager David Rollins for being the our go-to person and really creating a welcoming place for community members to come and for having these sorts of engagements with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next participant is Diane Sutton. Diane, I've given you permission to speak on Zoom. Diane, just as a reminder to unmute yourself since you're calling in, go ahead and dial *6 and that will unmute you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Oh, is that you calling me?
No.
No. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. All righty. Mine is going a little different direction here than the previous callers. And it seems the city of Fillmore is under attack. Our city leaders are not addressing issues that are truly relevant to our city's fabric. Red flags are flying of cliche phrases in Fillmore City Council agendas. Honoring Black History Month, where 75% of our population is Hispanic. BLM showing up at the police department when less than 1% of our population is Black. A community conversation with police giving the appearance that soon our citizenry will be attempting to defund them. And now the month of June is being set aside to celebrate LGBTQ gay lifestyle. When most people prefer to keep their sexual preferences private, what does all this even mean? Does that marginalize the rest of us from celebrating if we do not fit into one of these categories? Where does that leave the rest of us? Fillmore's leadership seems to be selling out to a higher power that does not come without a cost. Phrases and titles such as BLM, LGBTQ, and now American Rescue Plan are doors to a deeper, darker agenda that will further plunge our city into debt and recklessness. We are letting an infiltration from outside our city dictate what happens here by accepting payouts from American Rescue Plan, a 630-page document shrouded as COVID relief, is just another program to make our city toe the line. Do our city leaders lack the imagination to work with what Fillmore already has, or the potential it can have? By accepting federal aid, or local businesses will be mandated to a $15 minimum wage. And I realize that I've gone off a little track here, but this is all in line with what I'm hearing through the city agenda. It aids to the schools that will mandate a racist curriculum, teaching critical race theory and sexual education to children under 6. I've seen these books. It opens the door to taxpayer-funded abortion and an expansion to opportunistic welfare, further plummeting taxpayers into more debt. I've heard one city council member ask to look for more aid for low-income housing. None of this comes without a cost, either monetarily or safety to our town. Fillmore was a wonderful destination less than 2 years ago with train rides, seasonal festivals, downtown stores, and 4th of July events. It's becoming a dim memory of that now. With our businesses closed and tax money not available to support city function, have our leaders acquiesced to taking subsidies that require us to follow outside political leftist agenda? The council needs to focus on the strengths of Fillmore, inspire new business primarily to sustain ourselves, and not encourage outside subsidies that carry with it their agendas to destroy what we have. inspire clubs and organizations to revive events that encourage connection and inclusiveness between Fillmore residents. As Fillmore citizenry, we need to evaluate our leadership during our next council elections and transition to a forward-thinking, positive, and beneficial to all that are proud to live in Fillmore. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple of comments that were submitted via email. Simone, can I have you start with the first comment, please?
Hi, my name is Amelia V. Magdaleno, and I am part of the Fillmore community. I am so happy and excited that this proclamation is here. It has been a long time coming, and I'm honored to be part of this process. Hola, mi nombre es Emilia V. Magdaleno y soy parte de la comunidad de Fillmore. Estoy tan feliz y emocionada que esta proclamación está aquí. Ha tardado mucho en llegar y estoy honrada de ser parte del proceso. My name is Dr. Sandy Gomez, and I oversee the LGBTQ plus program and Rape Crisis Center at Coalition for Family Harmony in Oxnard. Our LGBTQ plus communities in Fillmore need support from the City of Fillmore's key leadership team. We need support with creating welcoming spaces for our LGBTQ plus communities that are free of hate so that we have our mental wellness to thrive. I am thrilled to have the City of Fillmore support the Pride Proclamation. This support is most welcomed and needed. Mi nombre es doctora Sandy Gómez y superviso el programa LGBTQ+, y Rape Crisis Center en Coalition for Family Harmony en Oxnard. Nuestras comunidades LGBTQ+ en Fillmore necesitan apoyo del equipo de liderazgo clave de la ciudad de Fillmore. Necesitamos apoyo creando espacios de acogida para nuestras comunidades LGBTQ+, libre de odio para que pueda florecer nuestro bienestar mental. Estoy encantada de tener el apoyo de la ciudad de Fillmore en Pride Proclamation, la proclamación de orgullo. My name is Jasmine Aguirre. I'm with One Step a la Vez. We are all equal. We are united. Mi nombre es Jasmine Aguirre. Estoy con One Step a la Vez. Todos somos iguales. Somos unidos. Good evening, Council members. I would like to thank the Council for their proclamation to make June Pride Month. So many in our community are feeling loved, accepted, and supported by this proclamation. Thank you for listening to our community and for letting it be known that all are loved and all are welcome in our town. Thank you for your tireless efforts and for working always to make our town a beautiful place. Luana Barajas. Buenas tardes, concejales. Quiero agradecer el Consejo por su proclamación para hacer junio el mes de Pride, orgullo. Tantos en nuestra comunidad se sienten queridos, aceptados y apoyados por esta proclamación. Gracias a ustedes por escuchar nuestra comunidad y por dejarnos saber que todos son queridos y bienvenidos en nuestra ciudad. Gracias a ustedes por sus incansables esfuerzos y por siempre trabajar para hacer a nuestra ciudad un bello lugar. Luana Barajas. This is appreciated because the LGBTQ plus community will be more seen and heard in Fillmore. Jennifer Orozco. Esto es apreciado porque la comunidad LGBTQ+, va a ser más visto y escuchado en Fillmore. Submissions on behalf of One Step a la Vez. My name is Brisa Romero, and I work at One Step a la Vez and the Adelante program, coordinator and project Pride advisor. On behalf of these programs, I want to share how happy and grateful we are to finally be able to declare June as Pride Month in our little community. As a queer person that grew up in Fillmore, I spent my entire childhood closeted because of how afraid I was to show who I am, because I thought Fillmore would never accept me. No more. Now is the time to be proud and loud. Get used to us, Fillmore, because we ain't hiding anymore. Brisa Romero, One Step a la Vez. Mi nombre es Brisa Romero y trabajo en One Step a la Vez como coordinadora en Adelante Program y Project Pride Advisor. De parte de estos programas, quiero compartir qué tan felices y agradecidos estamos de finalmente poder declarar a junio como el mes de Pride o orgullo en nuestra pequeña comunidad. Como una persona queer que creció en Fillmore, pasé toda mi niñez en el closet porque tuve tanto miedo de mostrar quién soy y pensé que Fillmore jamás me aceptará. Ya no. Ahora es el momento de estar orgulloso y ruidoso. Acostumbrarse a nosotros, Fillmore, porque ya no estamos escondiéndonos. Brisa Romero. My name is Esteban Montes, and I work for One Step a la Vez. I have lived in Fillmore for 40 years. To be able to witness this historical proclamation passed in the city of Fillmore shows that the city believes in equal rights. Mi nombre es Esteban Montes y trabajo para One Step a la Vez. He vivido en Fillmore por 40 años. Poder ser testigo de esta proclamación histórica pasar en la ciudad de Fillmore muestra que la ciudad cree en derechos iguales. Dear citizens of Fillmore, it's been a long time coming, but we finally did it. As you may or may not know, the city of Fillmore was the only city in Ventura County that did not recognize June as Pride Appreciation Month, but not anymore. This year, we finally said enough is enough. Our voices need to be heard. Through thoughtful collaboration and joint efforts of many individuals and organizations across the county, this issue was brought to our city's attention, and now the city of Fillmore will be joining the rest of the county in recognizing June as Pride Month and reassuring its constituents that the voices of LGBTQ plus IA community are heard and welcome. Great job, everyone. Keep on keeping on and fight the good fight. Victor Fuentes. Queridos ciudadanos de Fillmore, ha tardado mucho, pero lo hicimos. Como ustedes pueden o no saber, la ciudad de Fillmore fue la única ciudad en el condado de Ventura que no reconoció junio como Pride Appreciation Month, pero ahora ya no. Este año, por fin dijimos que ya es suficiente. Nuestras voces necesitan ser escuchados. Por medio de colaboración reflexiva y esfuerzos conjuntos, muchos individuos y organizaciones a través del condado, este problema fue llamada la atención de nuestra ciudad y ahora Fillmore acompaña al resto del condado en reconocer junio como el mes de orgullo, Pride Month, y asegura que los constituyentes que las voces de la comunidad LGBTQ más IA están escuchados y bienvenidos. Muy bien trabajo a todos, sigue siguiendo y lucha la buena lucha. Víctor Fuentes. My name is Juliana Suarez. I am a staff member and alumni of One Step a la Vez. I just want to say that I appreciate you all for declaring June as Pride Month. Mi nombre es Juliana Suarez. Soy personal y alumna de One Step a la Vez. No más quiero decir que aprecio a ustedes por declarar al mes de junio como Pride Month, mes de orgullo. Hello, my name is Andrea Madrigal. I am a program assistant for Conocimiento, a program within One Step a la Vez. I'm writing today to send love and support to the city for this proclamation that is taking place for our LGBTQIA+ community in the city of Fillmore and surrounding areas. I'm glad Fillmore is taking this huge step and recognizing June as Pride Month. I know many family and friends here in town who have struggled with acceptance and support. The acknowledgement from the city is very important all year round and is crucial to many members of Fillmore. This is an amazing step in the right direction for our city, and the output of support is dire for many. I am grateful for this and extend my gratitude on behalf of my family, peers, mentors, and youth. Thank you, Andrea Madrigal. Hola, mi nombre es Andrea Madrigal. Soy asistente de programa de conocimiento, un programa dentro de One Step a la Vez. Le escribo hoy para enviar amor y apoyo a la ciudad por esta proclamación que se está llevando a cabo por nuestra comunidad LGBTQ y más en la ciudad de Fillmore y áreas alrededor. Me alegro de que Fillmore esté tomando este enorme paso y reconociendo junio como el mes de orgullo o Pride. Conozco a muchos familiares y amigos aquí en la ciudad que han luchado con la aceptación y el apoyo. Este reconocimiento de la ciudad es muy importante durante todo el año y es fundamental para muchos miembros de Fillmore. Este es un paso increíble en la dirección correcta para nuestra ciudad y el resultado del apoyo es tan crítico para muchos. Estoy agradecido por esto y envío mi gratitud en nombre de mi familia, compañeros, mentores y jóvenes. Gracias. Andrea Madrigal. Monique Gonzalez from Get Loud. Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Monique Mo Gonzalez, founder of Get Loud, a queer artist movement. As someone who grew up in Ventura County and currently resides in Fillmore, I am in proud support of Carmen Ramirez's Pride Proclamation and strongly urge the flying of the progressive Pride flag to honor LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Buenos días, miembros de la mesa de supervisores. Mi nombre es Monique Mo González, fundadora de Get Loud, un movimiento de artistas queer. Como alguien que creció en el condado de Ventura y actualmente residente de Fillmore, apoyo con orgullo la proclamación del orgullo de Carmen Ramírez y estoy encarecidamente a ondear la bandera del orgullo progresista para honrar el mes del orgullo LGBTQ+. Hello. While I am not a resident of Fillmore, I've been a teacher at the middle school for 17 years. I fully support with the highest admiration that the city of Fillmore's proclamation of June as Pride Month. The support that young people in this community will receive from this proclamation is critical and commendable. Hola, mientras que no soy residente de Fillmore, he sido maestra en el middle school por 17 años. Estoy en total apoyo con el nivel más alto de admiración a la ciudad de Fillmore por proclamar junio como el mes de orgullo, Pride Month. Este apoyo a los jóvenes de la comunidad es crítico y commendable. I'm a teacher here in Fillmore, the middle school of 33 years. Fillmore needs to recognize Pride and have June as its Pride Month. I support the Fillmore Proclamation for Pride Month. The LGBTQ plus kids and community of Fillmore need to have Pride recognized and show their community supports them. Soy maestra aquí en Fillmore en el middle school por 33 años. Fillmore necesita reconocer orgullo y que junio sea el mes de orgullo y apoyo a la proclamación del mes de orgullo. Los niños y jóvenes LGBTQ+ y comunidad de Fillmore necesitan tener Pride, orgullo y reconocer y mostrar que la comunidad les apoye. Writing to say how pleased I am that Fillmore is formally recognizing Pride Month. As a teacher in Fillmore, I see how important it is to recognize Pride Month to support our LGBTQIA plus students and citizens. Many LGBTQIA plus do not feel supported or seen, and this is a crucial first step in helping them see that their community loves and supports them. Thank you for taking this step. Estoy escribiendo para expresar qué tan feliz estoy que Fillmore está formalmente reconociendo al mes de orgullo. Como maestra en Fillmore, veo qué tan importante es reconocer Pride Month, mes de orgullo, para apoyar a nuestros estudiantes y ciudadanos LGBTQIA+. Muchos LGBTQ y más no se sienten apoyados o vistos, y esto es un primer paso critical para ayudarles en ver que su comunidad realmente ama y apoya a ellos. Gracias por tomar este paso.
Thank you, Simone. I just received one more from Jennifer Hernandez. I am the board president of One Step a la Vez, and on behalf of the entire board of directors, I'd like to thank you for proclaiming June as Pride Month in Fillmore. I'm also a parent raising 2 children here in Fillmore. I'm hopeful that this will bring more visibility and awareness to our community, more resources to our youth and to their families, and more opportunities to celebrate and uplift LGBTQAI youth. Thank you for taking this step in solidarity with our community. Jennifer Hernandez. Mi nombre es Jennifer Hernández, soy la presidenta de la Junta Directiva de One Step a la Vez, y en nombre de toda la Junta Directiva me gustaría agradecerles por proclamar junio como el mes de orgullo en Fillmore. También soy padre que cría a 2 hijos aquí en Fillmore. Espero que esto traiga más visibilidad y conciencia a nuestra comunidad, más recursos para nuestros jóvenes y sus familias, y más oportunidades para celebrar y animar a los jóvenes LGBTQI. Gracias por dar este paso en solidaridad con nuestra comunidad, Jennifer Hernandez. And I also was told by Patricia Zavala that she wants to provide a public comment. So Patricia, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you. Once again, thank you so much for doing this. As you heard from only one speaker today, there's still a lot of hate and bigotry out there towards the LGBTQIA community, but the rest of the comments were very supportive because we are here, we are queer, and we're not going anywhere. And Fillmore is super proud, and we are in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. And it's also very important to declare, to recognize Juneteenth, which is coming up. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 7, consent calendar, recommendation for item 7A through 7D. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. I have a motion. I have a second. Erica, will you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Yes.
Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number, new business, item number 8A, public hearing to consider the adoption of resolutions approving the engineer's annual levy report for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 and ordering the annual levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 within the City of Fillmore Landscape and Lighting District Number 2 and Heritage Valley Landscape and Lighting District Number 2007-1.
Excuse me, before you start, Jesse, I need to recuse myself for the item 8A and item 8B, as I live in the area. Thank you.
Okay. I think you need to,
Jesse, 1 second. Mayor, actually, you have the ability to unmute him.
okay. Did I unmute him?
Hello?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. My name is Jesse. I'm here today to hold a public hearing that will approve the engineer's report for the Landscape and Lighting District for fiscal year 21-22 and order the levy and collection of the annual assessment for the City of Fillmore Landscape and Lighting District Number 2 and Heritage Valley Landscape and Lighting District 2007-1. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. Erica, do we have any public comments?
Just real quick,
Okay.
from Tiffany, this is item 8A, that means that I live in that area as well.
Yeah, so you can, tell me if I'm wrong, but she can recuse herself on the vote.
Right, you can just announce your recusal when you vote. You can say yes, except for the district that you live in, or you can say no. Thank you.
Okay. Any public comments, Erica?
We do not.
Okay, with seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I so move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, and I recuse myself from hometown, section 5160.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Erica, will you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Yes, and I recuse myself from District Number 2, Riverwalk Track 5099.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Yes, and I don't recuse myself.
Councilmember Larson,
Yes, and I recuse myself from number 2, Barcelona Tract 4603.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Yes, and again, I will reiterate, I recuse myself from hometown, 5160.
Mayor Austin,
Yes, and just like Bearer Edmonds, I don't have to recuse myself. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8B, public hearing to consider the adoption of resolution number 213826, confirming the annual budget and ordering the annual levy and collection of assessments for the Fillmore Storm Drain Maintenance District for fiscal year 2021 and 2022.
me again. So I'm here to hold a public hearing that will approve the engineer's report for the storm drain maintenance district in fiscal year 21-22 and order the levy and collection of the annual assessment for the city of Fillmore storm drain district. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from council?
I do have a question, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse. So my question is, part of the staff report said that not currently, but on the horizon, there might be for those tracks, those districts that have reached their maximum levy, that there might be reduction in service. I just was wondering what that looks like for storm drain.
For storm drains,
Like, yeah, I guess it was, let me see.
I know we said that for the landscape and lighting district.
Where am I going to?
While you're looking that up, perhaps I could ask, if there's a reduction in service, does the city then pick up the difference in care? But without our city manager, that's hard to get an answer, isn't it? So perhaps we can hold that to another time.
Well, I could help answer that, actually. Usually what it means is literally a reduction in service, so it's being serviced less regularly, so that the city wouldn't have to pick up that cost.
But the levy would still hold and everything would
Well,
still be
that's what
appropriate.
Jesse has to look at.
Oh, okay.
If Roxanne were here, she could probably answer it, because she oversees a lot of that. And maybe it might be something that we have to have Roxanne get back to everyone on, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
You okay with that, Councilmember Edwards?
Oh, yeah.
Myself as well.
Villasenor? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. At this point, did I already, I opened the public hearing. I'd like to close the public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I so move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second and recuse myself from District 3 hometown.
I have a motion. I have a second. Erica, will you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Yes, and I recuse myself from District 4 Riverwalk.
Councilmember Larson,
Yes, and I recuse myself from District 1A, Barcelona.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Yes, and no recusing.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8C, adoption of resolution 213831, authorizing the filing of a claim for Transportation Development Act funds for fiscal year 2020 to 2021, additional LTF funds.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This claim is for additional TDA money that came about because of a recalculation of the sales tax, which is what these funds are based on. So the claim is for $125,920. We were originally, the original claim for the year was for $404,672. So that will add to the street and road program, the $125,000. The resolution is to authorize the city manager to file the claim on the city's behalf, and that's it. If you have any questions?
Any questions for staff?
I have a question as to agenda order. Are we on item 8E, but we have Mr. Burkhart on?
No, we're 8C.
We're on 8C.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, okay.
We okay? Okay. Any other questions for staff? Erica, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll move that we adopt resolution 21-3831, authorizing the city manager to file a revised claim with the VCTC for the additional allocation of $125,920.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Erica, would you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Villaseñor,
Yes.
Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Edmonds,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCall,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 8D, appointments to city council committees, commissions, liaison positions, and outside agencies due to city council current appointment stepping down.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me? That's better. I'm here tonight to request City Council with the approval of the mayor to reappoint a member to the Ventura Council of Government Joint Powers. The city clerk's office received notice that Mayor Austin is having schedule conflicts, and therefore I'm here to request that you appoint a new representative. Currently, Mayor Pro Tem McCall is the alternate for this commission, but we need to have you vote for a new primary. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay. Any questions first? I'd like to point out that the meetings are at 4 o'clock, not
Right.
5 o'clock. We switched the meeting times. But besides that, I'm open for volunteers.
I volunteer.
Okay? Diane, you want to stay as alternate?
I'll stay as an alternate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just,
So I have Ari volunteering. Do we have a second for Ari?
I'll second Ari.
Okay. Do we need a roll call vote on that?
We can do one if you want to, just to keep consistent.
We can just raise our hands. All in favor, Ari, say aye.
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 Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 8E, notification of breach of contract from Expo Incorporated and review and approval of the contract for the 2021 4th of July Community Fireworks Show to be provided by new provider Pyro Spectaculars by Souza.
Thank you. That's mine again. I want to inform City Council and constituents that we have had a breach of contract by Expo Shows, Inc. And we're requesting you tonight to reconsider having a new agreement with Pyro Spectaculars by Souza for the 3rd of July instead of the 4th of July firework. On May 10th, we received notice from the California Fire State Marshal that Expo Shows, Inc. had actually had issues with their licensing and that their licensing had been revoked. And so at that point, staff did reach out to the current person who's handling the contract, and we were told that the licensing was going to be resolved by the 4th of July. So far, we haven't been able to receive any documentation from Expo Show, and we have reached out to them and demanding for our deposit to be returned. We were able to reach out to several companies, and the only company that could fit us due to the time constraints has been Pyro Spectaculars. Because of the timing, again, we tried to negotiate the contract. However, their staff is pretty busy right now running last minute changes and shows and everything with people who had secured them in advance. And so they have requested us to use their contract template, although we tried to negotiate it. That's something that if we decide to go with them next year, they're willing to negotiate it. Tiffany has reviewed it. They will be providing the insurance amount to make sure that the city is protected. And we have run numbers, and considering if, we are able to receive the deposit back, and also with the current applicants that we are receiving, we should be able to cover everything for the new contract. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Erica?
Real quick, I understand that the train is no longer running, or not gonna be running anymore, so I'm guessing that there won't be any contribution there?
Can you,
Sorry.
sorry.
I understand the train is either not gonna be running or no longer running, I think the end of this month, so are we we won't
We-
have any contribution from that.
We are not sure if they're going to be providing us with the contribution. Chief Garola did confirm with the other two vendors, which is the fireworks companies. They have confirmed that they will be giving us a donation, though.
So,
Okay, any other questions?
So he just confirmed the train is a no. The
Okay.
train company's a no.
okay.
I have a comment in that we're not the only state and city in Ventura County that does it on the day before. Moore has done this traditionally for a long time, and it's given the community a chance to celebrate twice. So this is a wonderful thing to happen. We shouldn't be sad about it. I mean, it was awful that they did it to us, and it was inappropriate and unprofessional. But we have recovered, and we can do good stuff.
You mean that we'll have to hear blowing up for more than one day?
I'm already hearing it in my neighborhood. I don't know
Right.
about you. But
Yes, we all are hearing this daily.
nightly. I don't know, I guess I had a bit of heartburn over a couple things. I mean, having it on the 3rd is a disappointment. I mean, the one good thing is that provided we have fireworks booths open, it's gonna drive people into Fillmore who are gonna spend more money on fireworks booths. So to me, that is a positive for all of our nonprofits who have fireworks booths. The additional money, I mean, that's a good sum of money that we're gonna be out, and now we have to possibly even litigate to get our deposit back. That's a bummer. So when you say that with what you know, we can cover it, we're really actually, you need to take out the expo shows deposit from that in reality,
Which I did.
correct?
Yes, I did calculate that, so to make sure, and the price was significantly negotiated also, because at first I was getting some outrageous quotes, and we did try to bring it as close as possible of what we historically have paid.
Right, okay.
Any other questions? I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion for our city council to award the contract for July 3rd.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'd be glad to second.
Okay. You want to do a roll call or no?
Sure.
Or we'll do a hand vote again?
Yes.
Just do-
We're good?
Well, I think we have to say something, right?
Verbally.
It needs to be on record.
Okay.
Yeah. Voice vote?
Okay.
Yes.
Aye? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's the way I'm used to it. Propose, 8F, proposed fiscal year 2021 capital improvement program, one-time expenses and use of American Rescue Plan funds.
Thank you, Mayor. This is going to be a two-part presentation, if you will. The first part tonight, we just want to kind of get some direction from City Council on how we want to use general fund reserve funds, and then have an overall presentation tomorrow night as scheduled with our department heads talking about their items that they would like to see, which would be capital improvement items, one-time uses, and then have City Council talk about the American Rescue Funds and how they would like to potentially use those funding. Right now, City Council, we have been very prudent over the past 8 years, and we have approximately $6 million in our general fund reserves. We've built that up over time. There is a policy to maintain 40% of the general fund reserves up to our operating budget. Currently, our amount comes to 19% of the current approved budget for this year. With that in mind, staff recommends that City Council be prudent in the use of our general fund reserves this year, because these funds also serve as our rainy day funds to cover any potential revenue loss in the future. Again, the list that we provided you contains a number of one-time expenses. Also, earlier this year, there was a passage of the American Rescue Plan. The city of Fillmore were notified today, actually got an increase in funding. We'll be receiving $3.7 million in ARP funds. The first distribution should take place no later than the end of June of this year. And then we'll get our second installment of funds of by June 30th of 2022. The good thing about that is we have 4 years to actually allocate the money. One of the things we can do with the funding for the ARP is to put into an interest-bearing account if we want to do that as we take a look at what we want to do with the funding expenses. Some of the items or categories that they can use the funds on, to replace public sector revenue loss, water and sewer infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, address negative economic impacts, support public health response, premium pay for essential workers, and equity-focused services. And each one of those has subcategories that spells out exactly what you can use the funding for, and they actually describe who qualifies, if you will, for an essential worker. You cannot use it to pay down taxes or to pay your pensions at all. Again, the general fund is our primary operating fund. It's our main source that City Council has the most discretion to use in terms of for projects coming up. The fiscal impact for the one-time expenses, this includes from the general fund, the water and sewer funds, comes to $4.2 million. The ERP funding is $3.7 million for a total of $8 million we're looking at discussing. On top of that, we've pulled out approximately $2,237,000 that we're going to be looking for potential grant funding for. And then on top of that, we have another $2 million funding source of other fees coming in from DIF fees, development impact fees. That's what DIF is for. From developers contributing to their projects to potentially another $2 million worth of improvements on Highway 126. So for a grand total of $12 million. Tonight, what staff would like to have as city council is to, one, discuss should general fund reserves be allocated to use for some of these one-time items and CIP expenditures. And then if so, how much of that should be allocated? If you can come to an agreement or a ballpark tonight, city staff will get together tomorrow prior to our meeting, try to prioritize projects based upon the number the city council feels comfortable with looking in terms of the reserves. We have money in the water reserves to cover their items. There's $6 million there. In the sewer, we have $4 million. The main one that we all have concern about is the general fund, because that's the one that can be used throughout your budget, and the one we want to continue to build up and not pay down too far. So again, that's what we're looking for tonight. Tomorrow evening, the staff will get into the details of the projects that they're asking for. We'll talk a little bit more detail about some of the items on the American Rescue Plan, what it can be used for. And then again, to remember that we have 4 years for that, so decisions do not need to be made tomorrow night on the ARP funding unless there was approval to move forward in some of those items. So that's what we're looking for tonight. And if any questions, myself or staff would be happy to do that for you.
Any questions for Dave?
I have a couple questions, actually. So with this funding, I mean, you know, I know Diane Sutton had mentioned, this is a big bill, and, you know, there's a lot of legislation behind it, and I have certainly not even read the highlights of it. By accepting this money, what are we beholden to?
The only thing that we are, if we don't accept the money will be redistributed to other cities around the state or locally. And we are not beholden to anything. The only thing, if you will, if I'll call it beholden to, is what you can spend the funds on. You know, for example, we can spend on our infrastructure for water and sewer. We cannot put it to roads. We can't use it to improve parks. We're also hoping, as this goes on, that we might see some changes in the rules and regulations with this. I know a number of cities would like to use it for parks, to upgrade them, make them nicer, ADA accessibility issues, and for streets. So those are the big items a lot of cities would like to use. But they do list out exactly what it can be used for. For example, we could provide money to local organizations. You know, for as an example, the Boys and Girls Club. You know, they want to do renovations in their building. We can be able to provide them with funding for them because they weren't able to do fundraising over the past year for COVID. They had plans to do renovations. Money would go to them. They could use it for renovations. They can give it to other organizations for training and for programming, whatever they may want to be, just as a kind of a topic of discussion. You know, so one thing we'll be talking about potentially for homelessness if we can work out an agreement with Spirit of Santa Paula, we don't have a shelter here. If we can donate down there, our homeless people, when our police officers interact with them, fire department, we'd have a place to take them. Right now, we don't have a place to take them. If they camp out, we really can't move them because we don't have a shelter for them. So those are things we'll be talking about in more detail. But the plan is really laid out. There's no issues with the business. That's for a city to make a determination, because one of the items you can use it for is actually paying for, grocery clerks, if you want to do that. But some cities are doing it, some aren't. We're taking the line from a staff to really take a look what's going to benefit our residents, what's going to benefit the city with this opportunity, with the funding that we do have in, and not try to rush, get ahead of it. We have heard of cities that have jumped way ahead, and now they're having to backtrack because things that they had approved cannot be funded with with the money. So now they're having to scramble again. So I think it's been good that we've been very prudent and taking our time with this, but we're not beholden to anything from what it actually means.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dave?
So much a question, but just, a comment about the American Rescue Funds. I mean, these are funds that, this is money coming down. And like we said, if we do not take it for our city, it will be redistributed to other cities. And so it's I think, a really great opportunity to use these funds and to apply them wisely through our city. However, which way we do it. We have a whole list here to look through and come up with something good. I guess I do have a question though, Dave, on when you mentioned the Boys and Girls Club and facilities being able to, maybe help their facility through using the ARP funds. And I know at this point, our city facilities, I was looking at the list, it looks like almost everyone needs a new roof or different buildings in town. I know it sounds like right now at that point, that's not ARP fund acceptable, but, we'll see what happens. But again, I wonder if there's something that could be said and that these buildings too, in some way, might provide benefit to the community. So, something to consider there and maybe to check into. If we're able to do it for Boys and Girls Club, because they have, certain events and that sort of thing, maybe there's some way around that.
We own that building.
Well, yeah. Well, exactly. It's a city building,
Right.
and we own it. And so, much like maybe the fire department or police or something, you know what I mean? Just trying to see how we can be creative with these funds, so to speak,
I kind of want to ask Dave a question so we get back on track. We're discussing tonight how much reserve money we're willing to spend, correct? And then tomorrow night, we'll discuss rescue fund money
Okay.
Yeah. What the request is, if one, we have 2 public comments, just to mention that. But if we can get a consensus or a ballpark of general fund reserves to be used, we'd like to get that tonight, and then we can kind of, within the ballpark of the number that comes up from city council tonight, come back with a plan in terms of staff get together tomorrow. So here's our priority from a staff based upon the allocation you're recommending to use from the reserve funds. And then we can get into even more detail about the American Rescue Plan tomorrow night as well, if you like.
Okay.
I think that's the number one thing for us, to be very creative with it and look at the way how we can massage it, to look at the roofs, the buildings, how can we help out trying to get into a park. So those are the bigger questions to massage it. And the good thing about the American Rescue Plan funds is we do not have to act on those right away. We can take our time with that and have further discussion and really dig deep and take a deep dive into that.
Okay, so tomorrow night we'll discuss more deep down in the rescue plan and whatever we allocate towards general fund tonight, and then they'll come back and we'll talk about the projects tomorrow night, correct? Okay.
So for me,
I have a question. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Earlier, I attended a air pollution control board. No, I'm sorry, Ventura County Transportation Commission meeting, and then today was the air pollution control board. And this is the time that everyone's passing budgets. And most of them determine the amount in their reserve fund by how many months they can operate with reduced funds, so that if most of them say 4 to 6 months is their reserve. And so my question is, we're conservative, and because we're conservative, we did not have to cut way back during the pandemic because we had some reserve to fall back on, and we need to stay conservative. So how much does it cost us to run the city for a year, let's say, to be very conservative, which is unusual for reserves? Do you have that on the top of your head?
Top of the head, we approved the budget for $30 million. So that's the overall operations for the entire city was $30 million. So you can take, you know,
The general fund, which is what that reserve will cover. The general fund budget for this year, upcoming year, is 8.3 million. So the reserve that we're talking about right now, the 40% or the 6 million is, basically the calculation is 3.3, the 40%, which covers about 5 months.
5 months. So
Yes.
we have about, right now, on our reserve, we have a 5-month reserve
Well,
of
we
months.
have more than that.
Okay.
Right now. Actually, we have probably enough to cover a full year.
Okay, that was my
But-
question, yeah.
Yeah, the reserve, that prudent reserve is about
5
5
months.
months coverage.
Okay, thank you very much.
Which equates to how much? I meant money.
Sir?
Which equates to how much of the reserve? I meant if we,
Well, the
reserve would cover, assuming we got nothing, 0.
Right, so
Okay,
the reserve, right now it covers almost a full year.
okay.
But if you dropped it down to 3.3, which is the 40% level, then there would be enough to cover approximately 4 to 5 months.
In your opinion, okay, we're holding 6 million in reserve. What would be a safe reserve to hold?
Well,
I mean, just in your opinion.
sure. The 40% is probably higher than most cities maintain as a reserve. So that would certainly, I feel it'd be adequate to drop it down to the 40% level, if that was the desire of the council.
So that'd be 40% of 8.3 million.
40, yes, 40%, yes.
Okay.
Which is from the 6, you mentioned 6 million, that, because we have, the reserve that we have is about 1.7, I believe, is set aside for the
Right.
sales tax.
You have to pull that out.
So,
Okay.
Yes.
so the other 6 is what we're talking about, actually.
Correct.
I think that's.
Yes.
is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think kind of to clarify what we're talking about, if you take the general fund reserve, what Raul's talking about right now, if you take just the general fund reserve of 6 million and put it just to the general fund itself,
Mhm.
it's around 70-some percent. However, when I believe Councilmember Call was on city council, we talked about this, it was for the entire budget, not just the general fund budget. And so the 6 million to the overall budget is around, comes into around 19%. And so that's how the original discussion took place with the city council. Because when I came here, I believe we had about 150,000 in reserves at that point in time.
Yeah, 150,000 and no
It was
employees.
awful.
And no employees.
I
And
remember.
the $6 million is the reserves. We also have a set aside of $1.2 million for the fuel tax issue that we're still waiting to settle. And that's what we've always talked about, the $6 million number right there.
Do we have a city policy that says we'll keep X percent in reserves?
We don't have a written policy. It was just a stated policy by the city council. And we've always been trying to get to the 40% number. It was nothing in terms of hard and fast. Every year, we've got to keep building. That's our ultimate goal, is to get to 40% of the overall budget to to have in general fund reserves. So again, that was 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And again, this is another city council. If you guys have a different determination which way you want to go, we can listen to it and and let you know where we think, which way to go with the projects.
So a thought would be if most areas have most organizations and most cities carry a 4 to 6%, 4 to 6 months of reserve. But we're more conservative, and we went through a terrible crisis, and we don't want to repeat that crisis. What would be the cost? What would the reserve be if we went to 10 months instead of 12?
Well, again, and I'm talking about general fund only.
Right,
So,
right.
So right now, it's say about 8.5 million, what's the annual budget? So if you go, say 80% or 75%.
Let's do 80.
Yeah, so.
To be
if
conservative.
you go, you know, that's.
That's where
you know,
we're sitting.
6 million.
That's 6 million. That's where we're sitting right now.
That's where we're sitting now.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So if we were to do 70%, how many months of operation would that be? Or
Well,
75%?
That takes you to 8 months, more or less.
Okay,
Right under 9.75.
okay.
What I was
But
gonna,
I mean, that would be like totally not receiving any property taxes and all the revenues that we get in general fund.
Yeah, I have a question. You know, I understand that we're a more conservative city, and I realize the history of our almost insolvency years ago, and do not want to go back there. I also know that we have been through what was a pretty much, I mean, if we have money set aside for a rainy day fund to cover revenue losses, last year with the global pandemic would be the year where this would happen. I'd like to know what, if you have that number, I don't know if you have the number off the top of your head, but what were those losses last year? You know, in this year where our businesses were shut down, where we had less sale tax coming in, you know, what did we see in terms of that fallout? And sort of to sort of gauge, right? I mean, I know Councilmember Edmonds mentioned, you know, we want to avoid future crisis. The crisis that was last year, that we can kind of, I think, kind of reset the bar of what that is. And I say this because you know, 40% of, if we're going to go off of that 31 million operating budget, it's like 12-point-some million in our reserve. Am I missing something on that end?
so what we're saying, I mean, yes, correct. Originally, that was what it was discussed at. It was 40% of the overall budget.
Okay.
What it has more became at this point is a lot less than that 40% of the overall budget, and we are sitting at 8 point something at this point, but we have to hold aside gas tax that we're still gonna owe.
Okay.
So there's other things, so we're literally talking about $6 million at this point that we have. So if we had an excess of general fund, I mean, we've kind of gone apples to oranges at this point. We're talking overall complete budget
Yeah.
versus what was initially set out to be 40% of the overall budget, let's put that away,
Okay.
versus now it's general fund money.
Okay.
What do we spend annually in just general fund? So keeping 40% of that, which I think we just did that math, which, you know, we're sitting at right now, which is the 40% of what the general fund would cost us.
40%, yeah, the general fund is 3.3.
Correct.
So that, you know, that takes you to the 40% of the general fund only.
Correct.
The other funds, I think most cities don't do a, you know, percentage set aside of the other funds, like water, sewer, and any others, because some of those are enterprise funds, and they tend to maintain a reserve of their own. So that general fund is the one that is more precarious in the, you know, ups and downs of the economy, and, you know, that can be greatly affected from one year to the other. So, and as far as to the question about the pandemic, I think we were fortunate. There were a few revenue areas that got hit, and we, you know, lost. They didn't have enough, the revenues that we've had in the past. but they were not the main source of our revenue. Sales tax, you know, is down some, the business license, so, but those tend to recover, will recover, and so the effect of the loss is not as great as you would think that there would be, and that's why with that, with the grant, there's a provision where you can recoup some of those losses, but on the other hand, the grant requirements require you to keep measuring how much they're gonna recover in subsequent years, so that the loss may not, you know, again, it's kind of a blended loss when you consider the subsequent years as they increase back.
So let me just
Mayor, sorry, we do have some public comment before
Right,
the discussion continues, if that's okay.
Right. I mean, you can either do the public comments now and we'll continue the discussion, or we can wait.
Can I just ask a question while it's in my
Yeah.
brain, because it'll
Yeah.
fly away and I'll never remember
Okay.
it again. So basically, there's a couple of things that I wanted to just point out real quick. So obviously, I was on the council that decided all of this. Fillmore is both good and bad in a whole lot of reasons, because we don't have a lot of industry. We don't have a lot of sales tax. We don't have a lot of generating sales taxes. That's helped us tremendously through the pandemic, because we weren't relying on a lot of the sales taxes that were coming in. So we fared pretty good for that. On the flip side, it's bad because we don't have a lot of income resources regardless. But what you are saying, and this is something that I think we all need to realize that isn't right here in the packet, or at least not that I gleaned out of it, this is money that we're basically being paid up front. We're basically we're being given money up front, but we're gonna take a sales hit down the road, is that correct? Or-
No,
Okay.
you're talking about the grant?
Yes.
No, I'm saying the provision in the grant, or several provisions allow you to recoup any, where you can calculate
Okay,
revenue losses.
okay, okay,
So what I mentioned about in the subsequent years, that if you had sales tax losses, like in this past year,
right,
next year, you know, they might be back up.
okay,
And so you have to measure your loss for the grant purpose, for
okay,
the grant requirements.
okay.
You have to look at next year's and this year's.
Right, because
Mhm.
that's the comparison where you
Mhm.
get your, where you get your difference.
Right,
Okay.
but if in the 2 years, let's say that when you average it out, and the average says, well, you really didn't have a loss because for whatever reason, your sales tax is now higher than next year, then that would tend to blend the loss.
I see.
To where then you couldn't say, oh, grant, we lost $1 million.
Right.
When you average out, you lost 500,000.
Okay, I
Mhm.
see.
So, you know,
So it's
then-
it's gonna skew your numbers on where you can put that money based on how you report it back as your losses.
Yeah, you almost need to
Okay.
go forward a year
Forecast,
to be able
right,
to
forecast,
figure your
yeah.
loss.
Okay.
Right.
Thank
I mean,
you for that.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Okay,
what the situation is.
Okay.
Or will be.
thank you
Great.
for the clarification.
Erica, you want to go ahead and
Thank you.
read the public comments or let them on?
Thank you. Simone, you can go ahead and read the 2 comments that we have. Thank you.
Dear council members, thank you for working tirelessly to help our city expand and thrive. As you are deciding what to prioritize with the funds that the city has gained, I would like to give you the areas in which I think our city should emphasize. I would first like to point out that cities which thrive are those that offer the most resources to their community, and that is where our emphasis should lie as well. I would like to see bike infrastructure as a focus in our community. I know we have some wonderful bike lanes on the south, west, and north side of town, but I live on the west side of town, the older side of town, and there is very little bike infrastructure in this area. Please consider installing more bike racks and painted bike lanes in the needed areas. Due to COVID, we have seen an increase in our homeless population in Fillmore. There is a great need for a homeless shelter and a permanent food distribution center in our town. On top of providing more assistance to our homeless citizens, the creation of a few community gardens with fruit trees and vegetables is also a wonderful way to feed our community and offer all of our residents a wonderful activity. It is also allows for a partnership with all of our schools in order to help our youth become more involved in our community. Finally, there is a great need for more mental health services in town. Hiring a specialist to respond to mental health crises in town is a great first step. Creating more accessible mental health resources is greatly needed in our community and should always be made a priority. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my suggestions and for working so hard to write what is best for our community. Estimados miembros del Consejo, gracias por trabajar incansablemente para ayudar a que nuestra ciudad se expanda y prospere, mientras están decidiendo qué priorizar con los fondos que ha ganado la ciudad. Me gustaría dar las áreas en las que creo que nuestra ciudad debería enfatizar. En primer lugar, me gustaría señalar que las ciudades que prosperan son las que ofrecen la mayor cantidad de recursos a su comunidad y allí es donde nuestra énfasis también debería estar. Me gustaría ver la infraestructura para bicicletas como un enfoque en nuestra comunidad. Sé que tenemos algunos carriles para bicicletas maravillosos en el lado sur, oeste y norte de la ciudad, pero yo vivo en el lado oeste de la ciudad, el lado más antiguo de la ciudad, y hay muy poca infraestructura para bicicletas en esta área. Considere instalar más portabicicletas y carriles para bicicletas pintados en las áreas necesarias. Debido a COVID, hemos visto un aumento en nuestra población sin hogar en Fillmore. Existe una gran necesidad de un refugio para personas sin hogar, un centro de distribución de alimentos permanente en nuestra ciudad, además de brindar más asistencia a nuestros ciudadanos sin hogar. La creación de algunos huertos comunitarios con árboles frutales y vegetales también es una manera maravillosa de alimentar a nuestra comunidad y ofrecer a todos nuestros residentes una actividad maravillosa. También permite una asociación con todas nuestras escuelas para ayudar a nuestros jóvenes a involucrarse más en nuestra comunidad. Por último, existe una gran necesidad de más servicios de salud mental en la ciudad. Contratar a un especialista para responder a la crisis de salud mental en la ciudad es un gran primer paso. La creación de recursos de salud mental más accesibles es muy necesaria en nuestra comunidad y siempre debe ser una prioridad. Gracias por tomarse el tiempo de escuchar mis sugerencias y por trabajar tan arduamente para brindar lo mejor para nuestra comunidad. Regarding the last item on the agenda, I would like to request to prioritize funding for 1. Funding for a mental health specialist for crisis, a volunteer coordinator, community ombudsman. 2. Park improvements with openness to integrate California native plants as part of the landscape, which can also be integrated in streets and sidewalks. Many California native plants are endemic to the state, and some are considered threatened. These plants are naturally heat tolerant and have various bloom seasons. They also provide food and habitat for many birds and native pollinators. They are as important to the history of Fillmore as any other historic event, perhaps even greater. These plants require very little maintenance once established in the ground and would be an attraction that any passerby would want to see year-round, as some plants even bloom in the fall, winter. Please consider including native plants in Fillmore. Thank you. Respecto al último punto del orden del día, me gustaría solicitar dar prioridad a los fondos para 1. Financiamiento para un especialista en salud mental para llamadas de crisis, un coordinador voluntario, defensor del pueblo, de la comunidad. 2. Mejorar los parques con apertura para integrar las plantas nativas de California como parte del paisaje, que también puede ser integrado en calles y aceras. Muchas plantas nativas de California son endémicas del estado y algunos se consideran amenazados. Estas plantas son naturalmente tolerantes al calor y tienen varias temporadas de floración. También proporcionan alimento y hábitat para muchas aves y polinizadores nativos. Ellos son tan importantes para la historia de Fillmore como cualquier otro evento histórico, quizás hasta más importantes. Estas plantas requieren muy poco mantenimiento una vez establecidas en el suelo y serían una atracción que cualquier persona quisiera ver durante todo el año, ya que algunas plantas incluso florecen en el otoño o invierno. Por favor, considera incluir plantas nativas en Fillmore. Gracias.
Thank you. Those were the two public comments we had.
So it's back to council discussion.
I would like to honor Diane and the fact that she brought, she and the people who worked with her, our community to the financial state that we're in now. Without that, we would have been bankrupt. There's no question about it. I think that we have been so very careful with the funding, and I do truly appreciate that. At the same time, we have not had a robust service to the community. Our recreation department is over budgeted every year, and we have not been able to provide many of the activities that many cities are able to provide because we've been so careful, and we've been careful logically and wisely. But I think that we could release just a little bit. And so I would like to suggest that we decide on an amount that we feel comfortable with and do that. That we do not hold the same exact limit, that we go a little bit under and release that to service the community that we serve. So that's my suggestion.
So for me, I would say $1 million maximum. I think we need to start small. I think that's generous considering that, you know, everybody says, oh, we just went through the worst year. You know what? You always say that, and you know how life is. I am seriously, I think that there's going to be a lot more trouble ahead. I don't think we are through this.
I thought you were going to say 100,000. I'm really thrilled that you say $1 million.
I mean, you know, for me, 750,000 to $1 million, I think is tops. I think we really need to remain prudent. I don't want to be like other cities around us. I don't. I think that we are very fortunate where we are. You know, we've worked very hard to get where we are, and I really just, you know, we can always make changes as we go, but I want to start in small increments. I think that's the wise thing to do.
Well, and I think we're not fortunate where we are. It was due to you and those who had that vision. So it was work that we are where we are.
Those were some tough times.
And I think $1 million or a little over $1 million would be nice, but I'd like to go with, see what everybody else thinks.
I'd like to chime in that we, again, respectful, respectful of where we were. You know, I know that there's always the risk of things happening, but I feel that we made it through this last year of the pandemic. Again, luckily we have a good amount of reserves. We're able to fill up those revenue losses, but that holding on to so much when we need so much, I believe that we can let up a bit more. That's my view on it. I would like to see. I think we're looking at, is it 6.2 or around 6 million? I would like to see a third, and that's my take on it. We have and you know, and none of these are operating expensive. These are one-time things, and we are seeing in our city so much that needs to be done. And you know, gosh, our parks are unusable. Two of them, basically, Shields Park and Two Rivers are literally not usable right now. And you know, our citizens want us to be prudent, and I believe we are if we keep $4 million in our reserve and we see where things go with continued development, continued property taxes coming in, you know, moving forward with economic development. But again, like I said, our taxpayers are folks that are here and paying for city services and want to see us take steps to provide more for them. So I may be the outlier here, but that's my view, and I think that taking a third of our reserve Still leaves 2/3 and working to build that back up again. You know, I'm happy to do that, but I think at this point in time, we've gone through a year, we've survived it, all economic forecasts look really good, from what I've heard. And so that's my take, fellow council members.
So Ari?
Well, having listened to most of you,
I can't hear you.
having listened to what the other council members have said, I'd like to be kind of in the middle from what Christina's saying and also from Diane's viewpoint, so somewhere in the middle there.
Between 1 and 2, so 1.5?
1.5.
1.5.
I'm of the impression that we all know there are projects that need to be done in the city. We all wish we could do them all, but we can't. And I believe that we've worked very hard to get this reserve fund up, and that we really, you can say, Christina, that, oh, well, things are gonna get better, but we don't know, because we didn't know COVID was gonna come along. We don't know these things are gonna come along. And I would feel more comfortable with going with Diane's recommendation, and then as we're going along through the year, we can let the staff bring back projects to us, and if we're feeling comfortable, like in 6-8 months, then we can switch our gear a little bit and start approving the reserves out of the, we can take more out and go, yeah, we're okay with it, because we're getting down the road. But I'm not comfortable with taking a third of it and throwing it out, because I don't know what's coming down the pike. That's my opinion.
I agree with Ari. I feel that we could do a little bit more. We have lots of homes coming in. We're going to have property taxes from those. And what I hear, I go to Two Rivers Park a lot because I like to use the dog park, which I call the dog park because we don't have another dog park. And the residents that are there are the new to our community, many of them, not all of them. Some of them are people that lived here and bought the homes, but many are new to our community, and they're saying, where are the services? How come there isn't any other place I can go? Where are the bike lanes? Where's this? Where's that? When I was in this city, this is what they served. Look at our youth program. How come they have a better youth program in this other community? And so I think we have to stretch just a little bit. And so I'd like to compromise with Ari's. That's my thought.
Why don't we compromise with Ari and Diane, and we go to 1,250, 1.250?
No, Ari's compromising with
With
Christina.
Christina, but I'm
So we're
saying,
talking about this one here, so.
but we're all saying that we
Right.
understand where we're all coming from.
Right.
I'm a very frugal, very conservative type person, that's just my personality. And to spend money that we don't know, that's why I was suggesting we could do $1 million to begin with. And as we are feeling more comfortable through the year, we can have the individual projects come back to us from staff and say, yeah, we're good with that now, and we can approve that now. But to start with, I think we should just go with $1 million.
No, I still like Ari's, but if you're not, then go 1.25.
1.25?
Can we put a motion on the floor?
Can I just
asking.
ask real quick,
Yeah.
Dave, based on what you know, you're the one that crunched these numbers. What's your take on that?
Staff's comfortable, no problem, $1 million. If you're gonna go to 1.25 or 1.5 million, what I would ask for that, because we've all talked about Two Rivers Park since I've been here. And maybe we don't use it now, have in the back of our minds to use the 250,000 or the 500,000. I've asked Roxanne to prepare me what it costs for them to prepare a bid spec, to take a look at Two Rivers Park, remove the underground water system, install an above-ground water system, rip out all of the turf, replant the turf, either natural with seed and or sod. I would like to bring that back possibly in July, August timeframe. If that gets approved for them to do the plans, then we can go out As part of a grant process, we do have some money set aside that we always are working on, is how do we fix the park? The community is gonna have to really cooperate with us on that, though, in terms of, if city council moves forward with this project, it's going to be over $1 million project. That if we go out there and put sod down on the playing fields, we put down grass and seed on the playing fields, the community's gonna have to understand, they're not gonna be able to use that field for a minimum between 3 and 6 months. We're gonna need to make sure that the grass takes seed and takes its root there. If people go out there early, it's gonna be all for naught. It'll be ruin the grass. That's the number one thing that is so hard for public entities and the public, is when you put down a new sod, new grass, looks great, let's use it, and you're playing catch up from day one. So it'll be one thing that we need to keep in mind when we do that, but that needs to be done out there. The irrigation is being checked. That's why you're seeing brown spots right now. They're having leaks out there. This is the first year we've had gophers out there before at both Shields and Two Rivers. This is the year we've never seen them at this number and level. We're working with our landscaper. We're playing whack-a-mole, basically, catch them and get rid of them. But that's where I would suggest, start with $1 million, and then knowing that after we come back to you for a project really specific for Two Rivers Park, I think that'd be a benefit, but you're talking about a benefit to the whole community of using funds for that. I think staff get behind that, the community get behind that. I think it'd be good for council as well to really address that issue out there at that facility. That'd be my recommendation.
Yeah, and I'm really comfortable with that. I mean, that way we have some, we know where we're going, we have an initial path. We then have something later that we can get some firm bids on, we have some better ideas, and let's designate what we said here to go to that.
Christina?
So just the recommendation again is 1 million with coming back specifically for Two Rivers Park and all the expenses that may need to happen from that, and the different available funds that we can use for that too, beyond the general fund.
Because we do have parks and.
So almost like carving out Two Rivers.
Correct. If you're talking about the $1 million, that's like a number everybody kind of agrees upon, 1 million. So let's take 1 million, throw that back with our department heads and take a look at what can be done. And then we have a range of opinions between 1.5 million and 1.25 million. Why don't we'll just say between, we'll either use we'll use additional $250,000 or $500,000 once we figure out what it's gonna take for Two Rivers Park to fix that, the issues out there. In the meantime, I work with Roxanne to bring back to City Council what it's going to cost to prepare bid specs to, like I mentioned earlier, rip out the current irrigation system, put above ground irrigation system, remove the turf, put down new turf, fix the fields up to make them nice and smooth and playable for all the sports leagues that we do have out here. And then that's where we could use that money with some of the park diff money and go from there. I think it kind of hits both little houses you're talking about tonight.
If our city is committed to that carve out of committed to redoing Two Rivers Park, I could agree to $1 million on this general fund.
Okay. Everybody's good with $1 million?
Yeah.
With that exception.
Yeah,
Okay.
with that carve out and our commitment.
We don't need to do a roll call, Erica?
No roll call.
Okay, we're all good with $1 million.
Direction.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 9, committee, commission, and board reports. Any council members?
I was at the Ventura County Transportation Commission meeting, and there's some good news for Fillmore, especially for those people that like to ride their bikes on 126 from Fillmore to Ventura and back again. And most of them go from either Ventura through the back road and then get on to 126 from Santa Paula to here. And same going back to Ventura if they're going to ride their bikes. Ventura Council, Ventura Community and the Transportation Committee, had a report from Caltrans, and Caltrans says that they have a grant to put a bike lane between Santa Paula and Fillmore on 126. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I don't know where it's going to be. I hope it's in a real safe place, but there will be a designated bike lane. So I'm excited about that.
Any
Wait,
other?
Can I just ask you a question on that one?
Sure.
Has there been any talk at all about a bike lane following the
Railroad tracks?
railroad track?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Is that up for conversation?
I
at
am
all?
your representative on this committee, you know, so I bring that up every single time.
Oh, okay.
And they actually did put that, then Fillmore puts more requests for improved transportation than any other community does. And so they have 3 things in the pipeline for us right now that they're looking for funding for. One of them is a bus to Moore Park. Another is a bus from Fillmore to the Ventura County line. And the third is the bike path. And they had put in and that would be from Ventura to Santa Clarita, I believe. And they put it in on a grant, they put in an application that was not approved. But they will continue to work on that. So those are important things that VCTC is working really hard for us.
Okay, any other
Thank
council
you.
members? Okay, we're going to move on to item number 10, city council reports, recommendations, and comments.
I'd like to make a comment. if I
Okay.
can, Mayor? Thank you. I want to thank again our speakers and just want to say how very glad I am about both of our proclamations, particularly about Pride Month. And as a leader in the city of Fillmore, I'm ecstatic that we are recognizing Pride and that we have community workshops coming up. I believe it's the June 17th and 24th, but I will double check that. And the resource fair. We just participated in the mental health resource fair, and it was wonderful to bring so many resources, to know that there's so many resources in our community for mental health. And equally, I'm so glad to know that folks are coming together to celebrate, bring resources out, and again, to know that our community welcomes and our community is supporting and seeing LGBTQIA plus community. So I think it's wonderful. Just want to say that. Thank you.
I have 2 things. One of them is interpretation is really important, but it's also important that I feel that having interpretation in English and then afterwards.
Microphone a little bit.
Away?
Yeah.
Okay. Afterwards, have it in Spanish extends the meeting, and we want to encourage public comment, and it makes it much longer. And I would like to see if we could work towards simultaneous translation like we did for the community conversation. That worked really well, that people who wanted to have it in Spanish got it in Spanish, and in English got it in English, and you didn't have to sit and listen to the other language. I mean, if we only can do what we're doing, then that's what we're doing, but it would be great if we could have interpretation throughout the entire thing in simultaneous. And so I'd like to see if we could work towards that. So that's one thing. And then the other, there was a reference on one of the public comments towards Juneteenth, and I was not aware of the significance of Juneteenth until I happened to be on the airplane today, and I was reading an article about Juneteenth. And apparently, after Civil War ended, it took 2 years for a small group of enslaved people, blacks primarily, in Texas, to be freed. And a group came in and freed them and explained that it was that they were now free. And up to that point, that group had held them slave. And so that happened on Juneteenth, or June 17th, I believe, or maybe it's 19th. But and the article that I had read also tied Juneteenth to freedom for all. And it didn't just mean freedom for all, but it meant freedom and services and rights for all. We all feel that we're all free in our country, but there are prejudices. And so some people don't get the services or the care or the ability that others do. And so I wanted just to bring that forward as an explanation of what Juneteenth is. because I've never heard of it before. So thank you.
Okay, any other council reports, recommendation? Okay, seeing none, can we move to city manager's report?
Thank you. Just a couple items tonight. We'll be continuing on with our community conversations here in June. We'll be having Dr. Sandy Gomez and Michelle Kilpatrick with the Coalition for Family Harmony. Our first conversation will take place on Thursday, June 17th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then our second one will be on Thursday, June 23rd from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Both will be on Zoom. The sessions will cover LGBTQIA+ definitions, best practices, fostering kindness and acceptance, and hopefully provide everybody with 2 to 3 takeaways. If you're interested in participating, the registration is open. You can go to our city social media pages, register there, or you can call Erica Herrera at 805-946-1712, or email her at Herrera, spelled HERRERA, at Fillmore, CA, that is one word, .gov. The other item is Fillmore Meals on Wheels. We're looking for qualified drivers to assist the Active Adult Center on Monday mornings to deliver food to seniors. If you are interested, please call 805-524-3030 or submit your information via email to mgarfio, that's GARFIO, at Fillmore, CA, again, that's one word, .gov. We had our first community conversations in May regarding the police. They're very well attended, averaged about 26 participants. Good discussion at each one of our sessions there. Really want to thank our chief for making it happen, getting his team together. It's very, very good. That was very positive. Have another good community conversation coming up. And then we're talking about maybe doing one in September. It's Suicide Awareness Month. And also talking internally with myself right now. I'll talk with staff and see if we want to do something on economic development and kind of talk about how the economic development process in Fillmore, how it works, how the cities, just can't snap our fingers, have Nordstrom show up or In-N-Out Burger show up, but what it takes to have those businesses come to town, what it takes to get a permit. So get a better understanding of the community, what takes place, to understand the process for economic development here. Again, I just want to say thank you to our community members who went out there over the past year, do what you had to do. It looks like we'll be coming out of the COVID situation. Handcuffs be lifted off here. Looks like June 15th, the deadline for us to hopefully move a little bit forward. Again, thanks everyone for helping out, for your support as well, and for keeping us on our toes here at City Hall. So thank you, that's all I have.
Okay. We're going to move on to closed session. We have 4 items we're going to move into closed session for. Item number A is conference with legal negotiator. The city council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 with the city manager, the city attorney, and the city's negotiators regarding labor negotiations with International Union Operating Engineers, Local 501, AFL, CIO, representing union representative employees. Our second item we'll be going into closed session for our conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. The city will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9 D2 and D3 because there is a significant exposure to litigation in one case. Item number 3, conference with real property negotiator. The city council, as a successor agency for the dissolved redevelopment agency, will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 to enable the city council to consider negotiations and to give directions to its negotiators regarding that certain real property at 338 Central Avenue, assessor parcel number 053-0-071-170 with Mud Turtle Theatrical Incorporated. The city's real property negotiators, the city manager, and city attorney will seek direction from the city council regarding the price and terms for this property. And then our fourth item we'll be going into closed session for is a public employee performance evaluation and compensation. The city council will hold a closed session with the city attorney pursuant to Government Code Sections 54957 and 54957.6A to conduct an employee performance evaluation of the city manager and to discuss the salary, compensation, and fringe benefits provided to the city manager. So we're going to go into closed session.